we live in a different time. We do. And of course, the time is running out. That it is. In fact, one of the biggest changes in humanity. There's something is about to take place that has not taken place in about 11,000 years. I'd say about 11,000 years. I know people dispute the age of the earth. Not here to do that. That is just to say, in modern times, no one has gone through what we are about to go through. Right? For example, right now NASA's watching two magnetars that could pose great risk to our solar system. Right? Two of them. Magnetar, by the way, it is one of the most feared objects we could ever encounter. It is worse than a binary, twin coming in. It's worse. A magnetar does not move. The problem is they are severely active. Right? For example, if about, and I'm just using a time scale here so you guys understand, but imagine about 27 million years ago, one of these magnetars sent out a spike, right? That spike could reach us at any moment. If that happens, life is no longer going to be as we know it. We are living by grace and mercy alone. I'm telling you, we're living by grace and mercy alone. Alone. Also, the entire northern hemisphere is about to be in trouble. A time will come when judgment does come. It will. And no one, in the Bible it says no one is going to mistake judgment. No one. No one. They're going to consider it perfectly without error. No one will miss that. But this is one of those moments. If you're living in this world, and you have a vision of what you want, it may not align with what God has for you. That's why people get frightened about the times they live in. They're frightened. They're frightened because they're finding it very difficult to accept that prophecy is happening. They're frightened, and they shouldn't be frightened. They shouldn't be scared. You know how people say, well, these people are fear-mongering. Well, fear-mongering only works for those who are fearful. If you know the truth, if you know about revelation, if you know about prophecy, how can you operate by fear when that is the Father's desire, that is His will, that is His way, that's what's going to happen? Fear has no place with us, has no place with you. And to operate by the spirit of fear is to selfishly operate. That's when we go astray. Fear. Fear causes people to go astray. Doesn't it? Fear speaks to you. Fear will tell you that you have to save yourself. Why do you think in the Bible it says those who seek to save their lives are going to lose it? It's because only fear can talk you in to saving your own life. That's what fear does. Confidence in Christ will have you'll lay your life down for the sake of somebody else. But fear will have you take your life up into your own bosom and keep it at all costs. That's what fear does. So everybody who operates by fear is going to try to save their own skins. And Lord knows we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time. We don't. You guys know about the stories about something is coming here to earth. Now, I'm not going to say what it is, but we don't have a lot of time. We don't. And I'm telling you all, if you're not careful, you'll align yourself with the world and join in with this war that they're having against each other. And time is running out because do you really think the Lord would suffer? You think he would suffer the innocent ones being the casualties of war or the foolishness of men? No, he will not. He already wrote down when he would intercede. He already wrote that down. We're almost at that point. And when he does, I'm telling you right now, it is not going to be favorable for anybody. But if you belong to him, he will favor you of everybody. Do you hear me? If you belong to him, he will favor you out of everybody. But I can tell you right now, it's not going to be favorable to men. Up here we go again. You remember last time, to get the point across, I said, let me give you guys an example. Then I gave you guys some dates. Hopefully you watched those dates carefully. They were crunched together. So this time I'll give you 2 days. A demonstration. A foreshadowing. You think the Lord is going to perpetually put up with? He won't suffer this forever. So then in 2 days you'll see a foreshadowing of what happens when God's hand of grace is lifted from any place. You'll see. You'll see. Because there are dangers everywhere. Everything is ready to blow up, but it's only his hand of grace holding it back. Think about that. His hand of grace is in the earth because of you. But where you are not, evil reigns. The Lord will not always suffer evil to reign. He has his appointed times. But don't make the mistake into thinking that somehow he's going to tolerate that forever. When his hand of grace is lifted, when no mercy is upon a place, you'll see the evil that's ready to devour it in an instant. So let that be a foreshadowing. Lots of flames are going to be in a lot of places eventually. There will be disruptions by water. There are going to be disruptions by fire. There will be disruptions because of chemical. And the entire, digital world is going to undergo some severe hacking, some compromises. That's the time we're in. Of all the events we could undergo, the weather situation is going to take a turn. Please be ready for that. The harder the atmosphere gets, in the upper atmospheres, right, the more of a potential of moisture it can store. Right now, the atmosphere can store twice as much rain as it did 5 years ago. Next year, it's going to be able to store, 12 to 15 times more rain than it was able to store. That means you have a higher potential of flooding. So next year, just about every storm is going to cause flooding. If we're still here next year, every storm will cause flooding. For the most part, these storms that we've been having lately, they have been causing massive floods and massive damage. I mean, massive damage. The sinkholes are coming back too. This rain has eroded the ground underneath many structures. And every time this happens, sinkholes begin again. But this time, we're going to see sinkholes the size of cities. That's coming too. So people will be instantly disrupted based on where they live. And that's not going to stop. That's going to continue to build. Do you guys remember the Dust Bowl? I encourage everybody to find a documentary on the Dust Bowl to acclimate yourself mentally to living in those conditions. Because right after all this water, We're going to have no rain whatsoever. I'll clue you in on something. You ready for this? You guessed it. Man has recognized something is wrong with the weather. Now, I'm telling you this directly, but don't ask me about this, nor will I explain it. There will be adaptations. There will be methods employed that will stop the flooding from happening. You hear me? There will be modifications that stop the world from flooding. And it's not going to end in a good light. In a good way. It won't. There will be methods. Now, during this time, because this will become a global crisis, the water is going to become a global crisis. The water will. It's already damaged a lot of crops. Most of the foods that you have right now, it will state on the package, those are biologically engineered foods. I'm sure that you guys have been seeing that on food labels. Sure that you've been seeing it. If you read those labels, you'll see it. Right? Those biologically engineered food. Even the snack, who remembers those oatmeal cakes? You guys remember the oatmeal cakes with the cream on the inside? On the box, this is biologically engineered. What? Yep. Yes. So even, everything is changing. When is the water event going to happen? That's a good question. We're building up to it now, right? What will cause the water event? There are 15 underwater volcanoes we're going to have to deal with, right? There's a movement of the ice, which will likely be the catalyst of the whole thing. The sad part is the ice melting from beneath these big bodies could happen at any given time. And then you'll have a change in the height of the water all across the earth without a volcano, without, right, an eruption, without any of those things. The water levels could rapidly change. So the water event is going to be part of that. The other part is underwater volcanic systems. For example, this week, we'll likely see 2 eruptions. 1 eruption this week, probably the next one will happen the week after. But those eruptions they'll start to signify the instability of the crustal plating, right? Because it will ultimately cause a huge separation in the plates, a type of fracture that pops, right? When that takes place, it's going to make Fukushima's issue look like a wading pool or something. So we're gonna have to deal with those things. Plus, with these eruptions, often what happens are these large caverns are formed. New sea life comes out from underneath the ocean floor, interfering with everything else, and it will start destroying life in the oceans. A lot of deep sea animals starting to come. I mean, some really deep sea animals are coming up. Big ones, humongous ones. They're a problem for the Navy, for example. They've been having an issue with a certain type of organism for about the last, 2 or 3 years. Big problem with that. We're going to find out that life is not exactly, somebody said megalodon. No, not megalodon, something else. They've been having an issue with it. People who live on the coasts, they're going to begin to have issues with some of the larger threats, aquatic life coming up to shore itself, and that won't be good. Then, of course, we have our topside problem that people are going to have to deal with, Hopefully we got that answered for you. Somebody says, What's that say? Oh, what? I thought I said when. All right, let's go to COT. Let's see. Mike is the Atlas, the evil constellation. No, the evil constellation I spoke of is indeed a constellation. A constellation will be a group of stars, right, that show in a specific format. But in this case, they're going to be of a very specific color or color range. So it will actually be a constellation. One of the misnomers is, have you guys ever noticed that there are certain constellations? I shouldn't even say this, but I will say it. I'll go ahead and say it. No, I'm not going to say it because some of you guys believe in flat earth and some believe in other. I don't care what the earth is, to be honest with you. It's our Father's creations. It's not going to bother me, whatever shape it's in. But there are certain constellations that have been recorded that are not moving with the rest of the constellations. Not anymore. Don't ask me what the change was, but they're not moving with the rest of the constellations, right? And everything has been digitized to hide these known anomalies. If you look at your iPad at the night sky, your device at the night sky, it's operated by a program which is in feeding from a database, right? And that database, its data is coming from a satellite that's filtered and, put through a chain of data tables, and it gets to you, which means that stuff could be easily altered before it ever gets to your screen. You won't even notice things are out of position, but things are out of position, right? Things are really out of position. You're not going to notice that unless you have can screenshot what the sky is supposed to look like on a specific date and never have that machine go back online again. Let me go back to, let's see, is the flooding going to be everywhere? Yes. Yeah, it will. It will. How many people don't know about the scripture in the Bible concerning flooding? See, you have a lot of people that say, well, they don't think everything will flood again because of what the Lord said. But we read that here one day. Do you guys remember? God said he would not destroy, I'm going to paraphrase, he would not destroy all life on the earth again by way of a flood. That's not what this is going to be. Think of water 3 inches high everywhere. Think of that. And so you have to think of, are there going to be dry places that you can get to? Well, those places are going to be waterlogged. They're going to be different, hard to get to, right? But everything will eventually be touched by the water. All right, somebody else says, let's see. How can we have 3 inches of water all over the earth in different elevations? Land shifts. That's how. That's how. Think of it this way. If water is shifted on the earth, there's no way the land masses are going to stay the same. Now, to understand that, you have to see how these mountain ranges and everything else in scale, in true scale, with ground topology and the rock strata below that, you have to see it, how it's really structured. Once you do, you can see, oh my goodness, we're in trouble. Like these mountain ranges that we have, right? It's almost like somebody pushed a rock up through sand. When you look in the rock strata, you can see where the rock was upthrust. Now, it was already recorded, and I like some of these ancient, recordings of mountain ranges and things, and when you find them, they're really precious because, take, for example, the Grand Canyons. There are some questions about the Grand Canyons that archaeologists they just can't make it work with real science because some of the material, right? Some of the material in the Grand Canyons is younger than some of the rock that's supposed to be newer than that material. So imagine if you had a big mountain, right? You have a big, huge mountain. Nobody can get to the top. But at the top of the mountain, right? The top of the mountain, you find some stuff at the top of the mountain, and it's older at the top of the mountain than it is at the bottom of the mountain. Wouldn't the base of the mountain, anything in the base of the mountain is supposed to be older than anything embedded in the rock at the top? Correct? You're not supposed to have items at the top, right, that are like that super old, older than the items at the bottom. It's a simple principle. If you start digging today, and you did that for the rest of your life, the deeper you go, the older items you're going to find. But what if it didn't work that way? What if the deeper you dug, the newer the items you would find? That's essentially what has happened at the Grand Canyons. How can that be? That's easy. Something turned over. And I'll submit to you right now, they will not disclose the true geological history of this earth. They're just not going to do it. They have people looking at these small segments, but they keep people so separated that they cannot converse with everybody at the same time to hide the story. Why would it be detrimental? Because if people knew that certain mountain ranges formed overnight, that would just destroy this control ideology that they have over most. That's why. Are these floods only in the USA? No, they're worldwide. It'll be worldwide, unfortunately. And in fact, the process has already begun. You guys know how much ice is melted in the poles? Let's put it this way. One side of the poles has lost so much ice, it's just an unbelievable number. The other side has gained that same amount of ice, which means you have an alteration in the physical poles now. There's difference. You guys know this week we're going to cover some meteor showers and a threat in those meteor showers that you need to know about. So I do hope that everybody is ready for an impact, but not any named impacts. You have objects like Atlas that people are looking at, right? There are other dangers out there. I do believe that one is a little more immediate. So we're going to be looking into all those things. Somebody says, what's going to be the average height of the water? I would say about 3 to 6 inches. I would say about 3 to 6 inches. It's not going to stay there forever either. Just imagine a day when the earth is covered with water everywhere, right? Some places deeper than others, but on average about 3 inches. Just think of that. That means the water's both moving, right? So it's not going to settle and become stagnant, staying on there. No. It'll be shifting and moving. But you know what water does to volcanoes? Anybody? If you expose a volcano to water, you guys do know what happens, right? Explosions or explosions. So that'll cause cascading events, right? Geological failures across the board. So be prepared for that. But you don't hear anybody discussing a water event. You will here shortly. They'll finally start talking about it, right? But they're not going to talk about anything until they have some sort of put things in place. They're putting things in place. God bless.